What if I told you that her walking away wasn't your downfall? It was your ignition. She thought you'd beg. She thought you'd crumble. But what she didn't expect was silence, strength, and the quiet transformation of a man who refused to break. This pain? It wasn't a curse. It was your catalyst. Because sometimes it takes being underestimated to awaken something unstoppable. You didn't just survive the heartbreak, you used it. Pain is power. When you stop running from it and start owning it, right now, you're standing at a crossroads. You can stay the version of yourself she walked away from, or you can become the man no one dares to walk away from again. So if you're ready to rise from this stronger than ever, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I don't chase, I evolve. Let's get into it. Number 1. The fire that burns you is also the fire that builds you. Right now, you're hurting, maybe more than you thought possible. The weight in your chest when you wake up, the silence where her voice used to be, the constant loop in your mind replaying how it all fell apart. But what if I told you this pain, this suffocating, relentless ache, isn't the end of you, but the beginning? Not a punishment, but the heat that forges something stronger than what came before? The Stoics understood suffering not as a detour from life, but as life itself. Marcus Aurelius, broken by war and grief, wrote that, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." He didn't resist the burn, he used it. That's what you must do now. Not hide from the pain, not numb it, not disguise it. Face it. Let it teach you. Your heartbreak isn't here to destroy you. It's here to destroy the version of you that was too dependent, too unsure, too comfortable in the warmth of someone else's validation. That man had to go. And breakups are ruthless teachers. They don't ask for permission. They come to burn the weakness out of you. This moment of pain is your forge. Every workout you push through, every book you study, every hour you invest in building yourself. It's metal striking metal. The pain gives you a reason to rise earlier, to move with purpose, to stop chasing people who can't see your value. That's not bitterness. That's transformation. And don't mistake silence for defeat. Don't confuse loneliness with emptiness. In the quiet, you'll find your voice again. In the stillness, you'll hear what was drowned out in all the noise of needing her. You'll remember what it feels like to belong to yourself. She left? Good. Then she gave you something no comfort ever could. Space to become more. Because the man you're becoming won't just heal, he'll evolve, harden, ascend, and not just to get her back. That's not the point. The point is, when pain arrives, you become the kind of man who uses it like firewood. You don't need her to see that, you need you to see that. Leave your mark below if you're done suffering passively and ready to rise from within. The pain didn't break me, it built me. Number 2. When they walk away, let them keep walking. It is a voice inside you right now begging to chase, to explain, to fix what feels broken. Maybe if you just reach out, maybe if you apologize again or show her how much she meant, she'll reconsider. But let's be honest, if someone chose to leave, they already made peace with the version of you they were willing to walk away from. And if you run after them, you don't bring back love, you bury your dignity. You think you're fighting for the relationship, but really, you're fighting for the illusion that someone else gets to define your worth. That ends now, because the moment you stop chasing, everything changes. Not just in her perception, but in your posture. You go from seeking to standing, from hoping to leading, and that shift is where your power lives. The Stoics warned about this kind of desperation. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life, and you can't be free if your emotional state depends on someone else's absence. When you stop chasing, you end the contract of dependency. You stop asking for permission to be at peace." Think of the act of walking away not as retreat, but as reversal. She expected tears, regret, a long text about how you can't live without her. But what she didn't expect, what breaks the narrative, is your silence, your absence, your decision to not play a role in the script she's written for you. You're not disappearing out of spite. You're stepping back into yourself. You're choosing discomfort now so you don't have to live in humiliation later. Because every message you don't send, every moment you resist the urge to react, you reclaim ground that was slipping beneath your feet. She may wonder why you haven't reached out. She may check your page. She may even say your name in rooms you'll never hear. That's not your concern. What matters is what you say to yourself. And when you choose stillness over chaos, silence over pleading, you finally start hearing your own voice again. Let her wonder, let her regret, let her talk. You're too busy becoming someone she won't recognize, not because you vanished, but because you evolved. If you're ready to stop chasing what already chose to leave, comment below. I don't follow exits, I follow growth. Number 3. Control isn't loud. It's the strength you don't show. Right now, everything inside you is pulling toward expression. You want to tell her how much it hurt. You want to show her the storm she left behind. You think if she just knew, really understood, maybe she'd care, maybe she'd come back. But that urge to express isn't power, it's a plea in disguise. Because true strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply is. She expects reaction. She expects volatility. The truth is, people don't notice emotional silence because it's empty. They notice it because it's unexpected. You not lashing out, not explaining, not chasing confuses her, because it violates the emotional pattern she counted on, and in that disruption you gain control, not over her, but over yourself. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." You think you need to get it off your chest to heal, but most of what you want to say isn't for healing, it's for validation. And when you seek validation from someone who's already taken their presence away, you lose twice. Imagine a flame in a glass room. If you feed it air, fuel, it spreads wildly, uncontrolled. But if you seal the space, the flame slows, then settles. That's what happens when you choose stillness over reaction. You close the space where the fire would normally grow. You create an atmosphere where emotion has no room to own you. Control isn't pretending you're unbothered. It's being fully aware of your feelings and choosing not to act on them. That's mastery. That's restraint. And ironically, that's what makes you unforgettable. Because while most people crumble when tension rises, you stayed centered. So what should you do now? Nothing. Not because you've given up, but because silence is your sharpest edge. You don't block her. You don't watch her. You don't explain your absence. You just become absence. And in that void, she'll begin to wonder about what you're doing, how you're not reacting, and whether she ever really knew you at all. Let your calm create pressure. Let your composure become the thing that echoes louder than any outburst ever could. You don't prove your power by performing. You prove it by withholding. If you're ready to stop being readable and start becoming undeniable, comment below. I don't need to react. I've already decided. Number 4. Your disappearance says more than your words ever could. You think she'll forget you if you go silent, that your presence has to be maintained, an occasion like a story view, a casual hope you're doing okay. But that's not presence. That's persistence. And persistence, when uninvited, becomes noise. The truth is, your absence, clean, total, intentional, is louder than any message you could send. Right now, you're afraid that if you pull back completely, you'll fade into nothing, that she'll move on and never think of you again. But consider this. We don't miss what's always available. We miss what disappears without explanation. We're haunted not by those who speak, but by those who say nothing and still stay present. In silence, in mystery, in memory. Epictetus wrote, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And when your reaction is non-reaction, when you stop showing up in her world not out of anger, but out of self-respect, you shift the frame. You go from being predictable to being a question mark, from being a memory she controls to one she's suddenly chasing. Think of yourself as a signal she's grown used to ignoring. You've been constant, always there, always responding, always orbiting. But when the signal stops, when your name doesn't appear, your presence doesn't echo, she'll notice the space. At first, it's relief. Then it's confusion. Then it's weight. This isn't about manipulation. It's about magnetism. You don't withdraw to punish her. You withdraw to restore balance. You're not trying to make her chase. You're making space for yourself to finally breathe. And if that space also becomes the echo she can't unhear, that's the power of absence, earned through discipline. So what does this look like in action? You stop viewing her stories. You stop checking in. You stop measuring your worth by her attention. And most importantly, you fill the space she used to occupy with things that build you. Skills, discipline, peace. Not out of vengeance, but because she's no longer the center of your life. And one day, without warning, she'll feel it. That you're no longer around. Not as a follower, not as a safety net, not as someone waiting for a sign. You left. And that silence? That's the sound of your value becoming undeniable. If you're ready to stop reminding her of your worth and start letting your absence define it, comment below. My silence isn't avoidance, it's alignment. Number 5. Silence isn't surrender, it's the strike you never see coming. You've been taught to believe silence is weakness, that if you don't speak, if you don't explain, if you don't defend yourself, then you've lost. But that belief is rooted in fear. Fear that you'll be misunderstood, forgotten, replaced. So you keep talking, you keep reacting, you keep inserting yourself into a space that's no longer yours, hoping she'll notice. But silence, when chosen, is not surrender. It's the sharpest blade a disciplined man can carry. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy," and what he meant was this. You don't need to retaliate. You don't need to chase. You don't need to make a sound. Your absence, held with calm composure, is more haunting than any plea for attention. Because silence doesn't just deny her access, it forces her to confront herself. Right now, she expects noise, a reaction, an outburst, an "I miss you" text that reaffirms her influence. But when she gets nothing, when the silence stretches without cracks, what's left is reflection. Hers, not yours. And that's the moment you regain control, not by taking action, but by refusing to. Silence protects your energy. It creates space for clarity. It reminds you that your peace is not for rent, not even to the person who once lived at the center of it. Every day you choose silence, you reinforce this truth. You no longer need closure because you've created your own. There's a power in walking away without a speech, in choosing not to show your pain, in letting your distance deliver the message. You no longer have access to me. That's not being passive, that's being precise. Because when you stop explaining yourself to someone who left, you remind them of what they lost without saying a word. Think of your silence like a locked door. She may knock. She may try to peek through the keyhole, but what matters is that you no longer open it. Not out of cruelty, but because the version of you that used to wait behind it, hoping, bleeding, aching, is gone. And when she finally realizes the noise has stopped and you've disappeared into your own growth, that's when regret creeps in, not because you told her to feel it, but because your silence let her create it herself. If you're done giving away your energy in exchange for being heard, comment below. My silence isn't absence, it's intention. Number 6. The scar isn't shame, It's the mark of your becoming. You don't talk about it much, but you feel it every day, the tightness in your chest, the subtle ache when you hear her name, the way your mind still drifts to moments that no longer exist. The wound she left has stopped bleeding, but it hasn't disappeared. It left a scar, and for a while you've treated that scar like something to hide, a symbol of failure, of rejection, of not being enough. But it's not. That scar is the proof you survived something meant to break you, and didn't. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body, and emotional pain, when faced head-on, doesn't weaken you, it sharpens you." The scar is your evidence, not of pain, but of evolution. You loved deeply, you lost completely, and yet you are still here, more aware, more grounded, more prepared than you ever were before. The man you were before the breakup? He was softer, more dependent. He mistook approval for affection. He confused presence with commitment. He gave too much, too freely. That version of you had to die, and the pain of that death was necessary. Because the man who stands here now, scarred, silent, stronger, he sees the world differently. He no longer hands his peace to anyone with a smile. Your scar changes how you walk into rooms. You speak with more clarity. You act with more restraint. You love with more boundaries. And none of this makes you cold. It makes you conscious. You're no longer seeking someone to complete you. You've started completing yourself. And yes, the scar still throbs on some days. That's okay. That's not weakness. It's memory. A quiet reminder of what it took to get here. But you no longer live in the moment of impact. You've moved past the chaos. You're no longer the man who was left. You're the man who rebuilt. And that's why she'll notice. If she sees you again, she won't recognize the man standing before her, not because you've changed your clothes, but because you've changed your core. She'll see the scar, maybe even remember why it's there, but what she won't see is a wound. What she'll see is armor. If you're done seeing your pain as a flaw and ready to wear it as proof, comment below. My scar isn't weakness, it's my witness. Number 7. You're not the victim. You're the one who woke up. It's tempting to stay in the role of the one who was hurt, to sit in that story and replay the unfairness, the betrayal, the way she left without looking back. You can spend months, even years, telling yourself you were wronged, that you deserved better, that if only she saw your worth, things would have been different. But the longer you stay in that narrative, the more it owns you. And Stoicism makes one thing clear. The power to reclaim your life starts when you step out of the story and start observing it. Right now, you're not just carrying pain, you're carrying interpretation. You've taken your heartbreak and turned it into identity. You've let it define the way you see love, trust, even yourself. But what if you stopped playing the part she left you in and started becoming the man who rewrites the script entirely? Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Pain isn't personal, it's universal. What makes the difference is whether you respond as a victim or as a student. The victim asks, "Why me?" The student asks, "What can I learn?" The victim waits for closure, the student creates it. You don't need her to validate what you went through. You don't need a final conversation. You need distance. Not just from her, but from the version of yourself that needed her. And that begins when you look at what happened without emotional fog, when you stop asking what you lost and start asking what it revealed. What red flags did you excuse? What parts of yourself did you betray just to keep the peace? What truth did you avoid because comfort felt safer than growth? When you see the past with clarity, not bitterness, you begin to extract wisdom, and wisdom is what turns pain into power. From that position, you don't just recover, you evolve. You stop obsessing over whether she'll come back. You start focusing on making sure you never go back. Not to her, but to the emotional version of yourself that made her the center of everything. You become more dangerous, not because you're cold, but because you're finally clear. And clarity, unlike heartbreak, can't be taken from you. If you're ready to stop reliving the wound and start learning from it, comment below. I'm not the victim. I'm the one who saw through it. Number 8. True detachment isn't cold. It's magnetic. There comes a moment, quiet, almost unremarkable, when you no longer feel the urge to check her page, when her name no longer stings, when silence isn't a strategy but a state. That's detachment, not forced, not performative, real. And when you reach that place, something unexpected happens. The power she once held begins to collapse, and without trying, you become the one she can't stop thinking about. It's ironic. The more you wanted her, the more she pulled away. The more you begged the universe for closure, the more elusive it became. But now you've stepped back, not to get a reaction, but to reclaim yourself. And that quiet, grounded distance, that's what changes the game. Stoicism teaches that desire breeds suffering. When you want something too much, especially someone, you place your happiness outside of your control. But detachment severs that dependency. It returns authority to its rightful place within you. You no longer move because of her silence or interest. You move because you move. You've stopped measuring your worth by her responses. You've stopped scanning the room for traces of her. And in doing so, you've become rare, mysterious, focused. Because when a man stops needing anyone's attention, he starts radiating something else entirely: presence. It's not about acting aloof. Detachment isn't a mask. It's the natural result of inner alignment. You're not trying to be hard to get. You're simply no longer available to be toyed with. You're busy building, busy healing, busy becoming someone whose standards aren't shaken by a pretty face or a fading memory. And while she may not say it, she feels it. The void where your attention used to be, the absence that now echoes louder than any "I miss you." She doesn't understand what changed, only that you no longer orbit her, that her hold is gone. And that realization, it lingers. The power you were looking for wasn't in a message, a call, or a reunion. It was in this silence, in this detachment, in this version of you who's no longer reactive, no longer craving, no longer trapped in emotional loops. And that man? He doesn't chase, he doesn't wait, he creates gravity by simply standing still. If you've reached the place where needing her no longer defines you, comment below. I've let go, not to get her back, but to get myself back. Number 9. Your excellence will be the silence that haunts her. She may not regret leaving you today, not while you're still quiet, still rebuilding, still unknown to her eyes, but there will come a time when she sees you again. Not in person, maybe not even through a message, but through the undeniable glow of someone who no longer needs her. That version of you, the one forged in discipline, in discomfort, in absolute stillness, is the one she never expected to exist. And when she sees it, she won't just remember the man she left. She'll realize he's someone she can no longer reach. This is the paradox. She didn't feel your worth when you gave her everything, when your energy orbited hers, when your words flowed like rivers of reassurance. She felt your devotion, not your depth. But Stoicism doesn't teach you to prove your value, it teaches you to become it. Marcus Aurelius never spoke of revenge. He spoke of excellence, of rising above, not for others to see, but because it is the natural path of those who endure pain with purpose. When you stop performing, stop seeking validation, and start creating results, everything shifts. Not because you want to be seen, but because you finally see yourself. That's the power. The gym sessions no one watched, the books read in silence, the habits built in darkness. They all gather quietly until one day the results speak louder than any "I miss you" ever could. And when she hears of you again, through a post, a mutual friend, a passing mention, she'll feel something she didn't feel when she walked away. loss. Not because you've tried to make her jealous, but because she'll finally see what she walked away from, now stronger, calmer, unavailable. You didn't get better to prove her wrong. You got better because staying broken was no longer an option. And that's the most haunting thing. The man she thought she could leave behind became the one she could never come close to again. Not because of bitterness, but because of evolution. You've transcended the chapter she knew, and now she has to watch from outside a life that no longer has a place for her. Let your success whisper in rooms she still walks through. Let your energy linger in the silence she once misunderstood. You don't need to come back louder. Just don't come back at all. If you're ready to let your growth become the echo of your power, comment below. My silence isn't revenge, it's revelation. Number 10. You didn't collapse, you evolved into the storm. They thought you'd fall apart, that the breakup would break you, that you'd shrink without her attention, drift without her presence, fade without her love. And for a while it looked like they were right. You did fall. You did hurt. You did question everything. But what they didn't see, what she never expected, was that the man she left behind wouldn't just recover. He'd become something else entirely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." The heartbreak didn't just mark your ending, it marked the path forward. Because the pain didn't crush you, it carved you. It stripped away the softness, the dependence, the need to be chosen. What was left was leaner, sharper, colder, but not bitter, just clear. This version of you isn't louder. He doesn't need to explain. He moves differently now, not because he's afraid, but because he finally understands his worth isn't tied to how long someone stays. It's tied to how well he endures when they leave. The man you were died the day she walked away, the one who stayed up wondering, who checked his phone obsessively, who confused availability with value. That man served his purpose. He showed you what not to be, and now in his place stands someone who no longer waits, who no longer asks, who no longer flinches when confronted with silence. You've become the storm, the kind of presence that bends rooms without speaking, that doesn't chase, doesn't explain, doesn't linger, not because you don't feel anymore, but because you've felt it all, survived it, and come out sculpted. You don't need her to look back. You don't need closure. You don't need anything but this moment and the fire you've been building in private. Let them wonder where you went. Let them hear about the changes from others. Let them scroll and find the man they no longer recognize. You don't have to announce your return. You never left. You just stopped performing. And now that the performance is over, what's left is real. She won't see the breakdown, only the outcome. And maybe, just maybe, she'll wish she could meet you again. But this time, you won't be waiting. You'll be moving, forward, focused, unapologetically evolved. If you're done surviving and ready to become the storm itself, comment below. I didn't break. I became untouchable. You started as the one left behind, questioning yourself, blaming your worth. But now, you've rebuilt. You've become untouchable. Not because she came back, but because you moved on without needing her to. She didn't break you, she revealed the version of you that still needed to be sharpened. If you're ready to keep growing, to keep becoming the man she never thought you could be, like this video, subscribe and comment. I am unstoppable. Stay grounded. Stay focused. Because the man you're becoming doesn't seek validation. He commands respect.